A History of Texas has is presented. Texas is the second largest state in the Union. It's bordered by Louisiana, Arkansas, Oklahoma, New Mexico, Colorado, and Mexico. The land was inhabited by peaceful Native American tribes who crossed a land bridge to the Americas from Asia. Over a long time they hunted and gathered. The Apache eventually obtained the horse and used it to become successful horse nomads. Many Indian tribes called Texas home. Spaniards from the De Soto expedition crossed through Texas on the way back to New Spain. Spanish explorers and later De Salle made various explorations of the interior. By the 1700s, empresarios and mission had been established. Comanche raids were always a problem. Mexican rebels fought and successfully gained freedom from Spain. Mexico invited Stephen F. Austin to set up colonies of Anglos and Ulster Scots from the south into Texas. Eventually, Texas did, in fact, decide to fight a revolution. A central aspect was the Battle of the Alamo. The Siege of the Alamo was a long standoff where Texans of Anglo descent eventually held off and were outmanned by the Mexicans. Santa Anna was beaten in the Battle of San Jacinto. Texas was an independent republic for a period of 9 years. The Santa Fe Expedition, a bride war with the Cherokee, and also the War of the Archives happened in this periodo. Texas was bankrupt when, because of intrepid filibustering on the part of Southerners, Texas was admitted to the Union as a slave state. The resulting U.S.-Mexican War settled the border dispute. Later it was said the Mexican War was a very unjust war for imperialism and the extension of slavery. Texas grew and became central to the beef industry. Also Texas, which had been bigger, was reshaped to its current size. Texas succeeded from the Union on the premise of preserving slavery of African Americans. Texas, while not being a main center for battles, was nevertheless involved with a few Civil War battles. The Battle of Galveston, Palmito Beach, and Sabine Pass, to name but a few. The Nueces Massacre was a standoff by freedom-loving Germans who were brutally massacred by Texas Confederates. The Confederacy was bankrupt and cut into by the battles on the Mississippi. Starvation became an issue. The currency was worthless. Eventually the slaves in other regions rebelled. Juneteenth is a famous holiday celebrated with regards to liberation of the slaves. A small number of Texas did sympathize with the North. Texas was placed under a military reconstruction by Congress. It was turned into a military district. A handful of Republican Federalists were appointed and oversaw the process of reconstruction. Texas reverted to uniparty Democrat control, and a strong, brutal policy of racial segregation was put into place. Texas grew quite well in the beef industry. Cowboys was a popular industry of the time. Oil was eventually discovered and became a staple of Texas' internal domestic trade. A few dozen Indian wars were fought and the Indians fought bravely. Comanche and Apache did fight to preserve their way of life, but the frontier regardless came to a close. Dallas grew up on the beef and oil industry through the late 19th century onward. Texas followed other Deep South states in terms of cotton growth and agriculture. Unskilled labor resorted to sharecropping. Texas cowboys did take their cattle to processing plants in Chicago. A handful of technical universities were founded in the early 1900s. Texans participated in America's wars both in World War I and in World War II. Many Texas regiments fought on various fronts throughout this period. Military camps, air bases, and various infrastructure was built up. In the mid-1900s, the struggle for civil rights grew. Desegregation happened, and the literacy tests were abolished. Jim Crow laws were struck down. Texas changed from a Democrat to a Republican state. Following the Civil Rights era, Texas began to modernize. Texas shifted to an urban and suburban culture. Dallas, Houston, Austin grew. Austin became the center of the tech industry. A lack of income taxes plus low real estate made it easy for tech companies from California to move to Texas. Bank firms and high-tech industries have moved over to Texas and invested in the state. The Apollo space program was partially directed in Houston. Many tech startups have moved to Texas. The state has a growing population. The petrol and beef industries are still the most important features in the Texas economy. Some Texans voice concern about political influence from certain religious groups and restrictive policies, while others emphasize pluralism and civil liberties. There's a lot to do in Texas. Definitely consider coming over and visiting anytime. There's a lot of fun to do. Tourism thrives. You're welcome to visit. Texas really is its own country.